Good afternoon, good morning, Superfly community. How are you guys doing today? Hey, I'm glad you're going to tune in for today's next number 3 in our swim series, body position. So in freestyle body position, today is what we're going to talk about. So I hope you guys are having a good week. Hope you're ready for the weekend. If you're out there racing this weekend, good luck, have fun. If you're just out training, enjoy that as well. I hope the last 2 series you guys been able to watch and learn some stuff from and get out there and practice it. I know, as these things progress, they all kind of tie together. So you want to get out there and work on these things, and as you progress, start putting all these little elements together to improve your stroke and your freestyle and your performance, in an event. So we're going to give some people a little bit more time to get on here, but we'll get started here soon. Hey Jamie, how you doing? Good to have you on board. Hope you're doing well. We'll give everybody a few more minutes, just to see who else is going to join. Like I said, I'm David Miner, one of the Superfly swim coaches. If you haven't joined us before, welcome. This is number 3 in our series that we're doing. Probably a total of 8, I think, is what we're going to end up with at the end of the day. So this particular topic is freestyle body position. So we'll get started here in a minute. We've covered head position and we've covered breathing. So those were our first 2 topics, and this third topic is going to be body position, which also is part of our head position, which we talked about in the first episode. All right, in about 1 more minute, we'll get started. Hope everybody's ready for the weekend. A lot of thundering going on around here in Sarasota. I don't know. There's a big swim meet going on. I hope they're not having too much trouble. All right, guys, let's get started. So, again, I'm David Miner, one of the Superfly swim coaches. Today we're going to be talking about our body position when swimming freestyle. We talked about head position and breathing in the last 2 episodes, so this one's going to be on body position. So how important is body position in swimming? It's really important. Body position affects how you perform in the water. It affects how your body is moving through the water. If your hips are sagging, if your feet are dangling and dragging below the surface of the water pretty significantly, you're going to create a lot of drag for yourself, making it really hard to swim. So I envision, people, basically, if you were standing at the end of a pool and you tied a rope to a piece of plywood and you laid it and floated it on the surface and you just pulled it straight down the pool, it would move through the water relatively easily. Right across the surface, it would float. But if you took that piece of plywood and weighted the back of it so that it was maybe on a 45-degree angle, the front was at the surface, the bottom of that piece of plywood was 45-degree angle, and you started dragging it through the water, it'd be a lot harder to pull that piece of plywood through the water. So if our bodies are in that position, I'm using my hand here to demonstrate, being our head and our feet here, if you're in this position, there's all kinds of drag being created as you're trying to move your body through that water. So body position is super important. I hear a lot of times many triathletes, I sink, my legs sink, I'm too heavy, not from being overweight or something, but just having that muscle mass from all the biking, all the running, and not having an effective kick or things along those lines that don't allow your body to be in a good position. Yeah, exactly, Jamie, plowing. You don't want to plow. We have ways to fix this. So what we're going to talk about today is a little bit more about the drag and the body position, and then how we can fix these things. So when you reduce this drag, you start swimming nice and horizontally through the water versus that plowing, that 45-degree angle. Your efficiency is going to go up, your distance per stroke is going to go up, and it's going to feel easier to swim, which is what we all want, right? You don't want to muscle your way through the water. So if you can be efficient, you can travel further per stroke and have a much better swim practice, open water swim, triathlon swim, whatever it is. So, like I said earlier, our very first episode was on head position. So go back and watch that one, but I'm going to briefly touch base on that again because head position is so important in your overall body position. Head position, you want your head facing down in the water when you're not breathing. Okay, your eyes looking straight down, your goggles strapped perpendicular to the water. All right, the water breaking on the crown of your head, not out here on your forehead. When you breathe, we talked about this a lot, and even our last episode on breathing, you want to turn your head to breathe, not lift your head to breathe. So as soon as you lift your head, hips, legs, feet, all can start to go down. So you lift your head to breathe, what happens? Everything else starts to sink. So we don't want to do that. So go back and watch those, and there's some tips and stuff in there that can help you, on the breathing and on the head position. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on that in this particular episode, but make sure that your head is in a good position, and this is going to overall help your body position in your swimming. So your head and your neck need to be in line with your spine when you're swimming. You don't want to be bending the neck. All right, you don't want to lift it like we already talked about. So your head and neck need to be nice in alignment. Freestyle is a long axis stroke, meaning that a rod goes through the top of our head, down our neck, down our spine, all the way to our feet, and we're rotating on that. And the next episode, we're going to get into that body rotation, but we don't want to bend that rod. So we want to stay in that nice, long, and very aerodynamic, very streamlined position. So we want our hips to be at the surface. We want our legs and our feet to be at the surface. And like I said earlier, I hear it a lot. Triathletes are like, man, my legs sink. I can't do this. It's too hard. I feel like I'm just plowing through the water. How do I fix this? So how do we fix this? Well, there's some things we can do to really help work on this and become a better swimmer overall. One is your core, your abdomen. That is an extremely important part of swimming. Whether you're swimming freestyle or any of the other strokes, it's super important. So a strong, good core will make you a better swimmer, period. So one of the things that I talk about is, with this respect to your core, is a good visualization thing. Think about if you were trying to literally suck your belly button all the way to your spine. If you're pulling that hard against your core, trying to pull that belly button back to your spine, all right, you're really going to work on pulling those hips up to the surface, and those your thighs and that area of your up to the surface. So if you feel like your hips are sagging, you feel like your legs are starting to sink, pull in that abdomen, pull in that core, try to suck that belly button to the spine. Jamie just said planks. That's a really good dry land work exercise you can do to strengthen that core. So definitely work on the planks. The other thing you do is press your chest down. When we're swimming, I'm pressing that chest down into the water a little bit instead of letting it ride up and getting a lot of lift. So if you can press that chest down a little bit, it's going to naturally bring those hips up, naturally bring those legs up. So pressing that chest down will also help bring the hips and bring the legs and feet to the surface. Kicking, all right? Kicking is so important in swimming for many ways. Some of us, like me, I'm not a big kicker, but I do use my kick to really try to keep my body in a good position. It doesn't do a lot for me in my kicking to propel me down the water tremendously, but it really helps me to get my body in a better position. So kicking is really important, but when we're kicking, we don't want a big crazy kick, and we're going to get into kicking in a later episode. But we don't want a big crazy kick. We want a nice, comfortable, relaxed kick up at the surface of the water. We don't want our feet coming out of the water, and we don't want our legs scissoring away. So we don't want our feet and our legs separating. We want a nice, tight kick. Think about if I took a bucket and put it over the end of your feet, and you had to kick inside that bucket. Okay? And like I said, we'll get into more on kicking a little bit later. So the other thing you can do as a drill to really help feel what it's like to have your hips, your legs, your thighs, all up at the surface, is grab a pull buoy, which is one of those floaty devices that you stick between your legs. That's typically used for pulling drills and pulling swim sets where you're really eliminating your kick and really working on building your shoulders and your technique. But I also like to use it for folks that are having a hard time feeling what it's like to have those hips and those legs at the surface. So you can stick that pull buoy on, okay? Find your buoyancy, feel your hips coming to the surface, feel your legs and your thighs coming up to the surface. And I say feel, and I say that in capital letters, okay? Because if you're not able to feel where your hips are, where your body position is, it's really hard to reproduce that over and over again. If somebody's standing on the deck, you have a coach that's watching you, you're at a master's program and they're watching you, they can tell you, hey, your legs are sinking, your hips are down, bring them up. But if you can't feel that, if you can't have that sensation of when they're sinking versus when they're at the surface, it's really hard for you to fix it yourself. So put that pull buoy on, swim some laps, really feel, not fast, feel where those hips are, feel what that pull buoy is doing for you. Then take that off, okay, put it aside and try to reproduce it yourself. Try to feel your hips in that same position, okay? And you can also press your chest down at the same time you're using the pull buoy. You can also, throw in a little tiny kick back there while you're using the pull buoy. Okay, typically in a freestyle pull set, we don't kick too much with a pull buoy, but for this drill, you can, light kick back there. Okay, feel, that your abdomen, your core, sucking that belly button to the spine, really pulling those hips up. Okay, you don't necessarily, need anything big and powerful, but tying all these things together can really make a difference from swimming like this to swimming in a more horizontal, more streamlined fashion. Okay, so make sure you work on that core. Make sure you have a buoy that you can practice with. Make sure you're working on your kicking. And as I said many times, make sure you keep that head down. Those things are really going to help you get that body position, get you in that streamlined position, which will increase your distance per stroke, which will increase your ability to swim further, because now it's not nearly as hard, and you'll enjoy it as much more as well. So get out there, practice some of these things this weekend. Throw that pull buoy on, try it. Feel some of the differences in your body position with and without it. Some people are much faster with a pull buoy, so I don't want you to throw that on and go, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing ever, and I'm going to just swim every day with this pull buoy on, because you're going to defeat the purpose of the drill. So you want to be able to use that pull buoy, but don't become dependent on it. It's not your binky, okay? Do not get dependent on that thing. Use it, and then take it off and try to swim the way you're supposed to be swimming, because when you get to that race, okay, you're not going to be able to use that pull buoy. All right, so that's today's swim series number 3, body position. I hope you guys got some stuff out of that. Go back and watch number 1 and number 2. They all 3 tie together real nicely. Next week, we're going to get into body rotation, in freestyle, which all these 3 things that we've already worked on affect your body position, which affects your body rotation. So get out there, practice these things. I hope you guys have a great weekend. We do not, want to, do one thing without the other. So put all these things together, enjoy it, practice it, have fun with it, work with some other swimmers out there, and we'll see you guys soon. All right, have a great day, and we'll talk to you about next week. Bye-bye.